Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to the crash course in Slovak. My name is Peter, and I'm very happy that you came and that you want to learn more about the Slovak language. Whatever your motivation may be, I hope you're going to learn something new. I'm going to tell you how to pronounce the language, how to learn some basic words and phrases, and basically some useful phrases that you can later on use in Slovakia in order to get around and in order to communicate with local people. So let's get right into it, shall we? So a little bit about me. My name is Peter, as you might have guessed, and currently I'm working as a project manager at the organization called Education and Internet. And you might know this organization because it's the one who organizes Polyglot Gathering. So me working there, I'm also one of the organizers of Polyglot Gathering, and I have been so for a couple of years now. Actually, I mostly take care of social media and communication with the audience. Yeah, and in general, I'm also a polyglot since I'm here, and I'm a language enthusiast. I speak a number of languages. My native language is Slovak, but I also consider Czech to be kind of my native language because I'm from Slovakia, and growing up in Slovakia, you also learn Czech by default. Even though I don't really speak it, I still consider it the language I know very well. So yeah, it's also kind of my native language, I guess. Then I speak to a high degree English and French, and I speak quite well Danish, Serbian, and I'm currently learning Esperanto because in the organization Education Internet, we use Esperanto as a working language amongst our colleagues, actually. So that's it. All right, so you came here to learn about the Slovak language. So I hope you're going to enjoy my little crash course. Some basic facts about the language. It's an Indo-European West Slavic language, which means that it's related to Czech and Polish and Sorbian languages, which are nearby. With Czech, it's actually highly mutually intelligible, yeah, to a very high degree. This means basically that the two languages are very, very similar. Just as I said, because I grew up in Slovakia, I'm able to understand Czech very well. The Czechs can understand Slovak very well too. They're two separate languages, and there are differences between the separate words and pronunciation, but they are very similar. If you learn one, it's going to be significantly easier for you to learn the other one. Slovak language is a very small language in terms of native speakers and in terms of the estimated total amount of speakers. There are about 5 million native speakers of the language, most of them being in Slovakia. So even though we're a country of about 5.5 million people, not everybody speaks Slovak as their first language. Many people speak actually Hungarian or a different language. But yeah, there are 5 million native speakers, and it's estimated that there are 7 million total speakers of Slovak around the whole world. Most of them being in Slovakia, but also in the neighboring countries like Hungary, in Romania, there are some communities, and also in the United States. So yeah, it's a very small and unique kind of Slavic language. So yeah. I'm not going to go too deep into the whole grammar thing because this is a crash course. So what I want you from this crash course is to get some basic phrases and stuff like that that you can use immediately. But some things to keep in mind when it comes to grammar is that in Slovak, what you're going to see in this presentation is that there are many differences between the formal and informal speech. What that means is that depending on the context, you're going to use the formal way of saying things and the informal way. And basically the informal way or the informal speech is when you speak to your friends, to your peers, to your colleagues, someone who you know very well. The formal way or the formal speech used to your teachers in school, for example, or someone who's older than you. It might be your boss. It might be, in general, someone in the street who's older and whom you want to respect a bit more. So you're going to apply the formal speech. So that's a very big difference, and you're going to see it once again in this presentation that there are many ways of saying the same thing but in a different speech. Slovak is a highly inflected language, and there are up to 6 grammatical cases. What this means is that the endings of nouns and other types of words change, and they change according to the function that they fulfill within the sentence. So once again, I'm not going to explain everything, but basically what you need to know is that the endings change all the time. So once you learn a word, you have to also learn how the system works, what are the endings. And if you're coming from a language, if your native language is something that doesn't use inflection or these grammatical cases, then it might be a bit trickier for you to learn Slovak or any other Slavic language. But once you learn Slovak or any other Slavic language, all the other ones are going to be significantly easier for you as well. So yeah, there are 3 grammatical genders: the masculine, the feminine, and the neutral gender. And when it comes to stress in a sentence, in a word, it always falls on the very first syllable. There's no exception to it. So when you see a word, it's always the first syllable that's stressed. No exception. That's something that's quite easy about this language, I guess. The word order is also quite flexible, and that's also because of the grammatical cases, because they indicate the role that the word plays within the sentence. So you can kind of place them in any way you want, the words within a sentence, and it has pretty much the same meaning. But yeah, typically we still use the SVO word order, so the subject, verb, object. But yeah, it's pretty flexible actually compared to English. All right, and let's get into the Slovak alphabet. And as you can see, there are a lot of letters in the Slovak alphabet. There are up to 46, if I calculate them properly, 46 letters. And as you can see, Slovak is written with a variant of the Latin script. So these are Latin characters which have different accents and things above them. And they basically change the original letters a bit. So right now, I'm going to go through each and every one of these letters, and you can listen to how we pronounce these letters. In the Slovak language, we pronounce pretty much most of the time every single letter in a word. So once you learn the pronunciation of these individual letters, you'll be able to pronounce the words quite easily. So let's get into it. A, E, B, C, Č, D, G, Z, J, E, F, G, H, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, W, P, Q, R, S, Š, T, Ć, U, V, X, I, Z, Ž. So you can see there's quite a few letters. And I think, I'm not actually too sure, but I think I read somewhere that the Slovak alphabet is actually the longest in Europe out of all the alphabets. I might be wrong, but I think I read it somewhere. But yeah, if you have 46 letters, it's quite a bit actually, so yeah. So what's going on around here? There are many accents, as you can see, above the vowels. So we have the ones without vowels, and they're pronounced in a short way. So we have A, E, I, O, U, I. And then you have the ones with accents, and basically what the accents do is that they make them a bit longer. So it's A, I, O, U, I. Simple. This letter is actually pronounced nowadays just as E. So both of these are E. Historically, I think this one was pronounced a bit differently, but now it's just E. And then there's these ones, and the ones with the little hats. What these hats do is that they completely change the pronunciation. So these are pronounced as C, D, Z, L, N, S, T, Z. And with the hats, it's Ch, J, J, L, N, Sh, T, J. The W and the V are pronounced the same, so it's V sound. The I and the Y are pronounced the same, unlike in other Slavic languages. In Slovak, they are pronounced the same, but you write them differently, and depending on the word. So it's I, and there are 4 diphthongs. There's ya, ye, you, and wo. And wo has actually a separate letter. It's an O with a little hat, upside down hat. And then there's L and R with these accents, just like the vowels. What they do is that they also are pronounced a bit longer if you see them. So it's like L, R, L, R. Yeah. And then this is probably, so far it's pretty okay, I would say, as long as you get the hang of it. But these ones, you can't really tell unless you get the hang of Slovak a bit. These combinations, so it's de, te, ne, le, di, ti, ni, li, they can be pronounced two ways. They can be pronounced just like I have just pronounced them, but they can be also pronounced je, te, ne, le, di, ti, ni, li. And I'm really not going to bother you with this because there's a crash course. It's supposed to be easy and just an introduction to the language. But yeah, keep in mind that they can be pronounced a bit differently sometimes. All right, so let's get into the fun part. So what do we learn when we learn a new language? We learn how to greet people. So the greetings in the Slovak language are the following. You can say ahoj, ahoj, or you can say ciao, ciao. Both of these greetings are an informal way of saying hello to someone. So if you meet your friend or, I don't know, your mom or your dad, you're going to say hi to them. So you're going to say ahoj or ciao. And both of these words can be used to greet people, but also to say goodbye to people. So unlike in English, you cannot just say hello to someone when you're saying goodbye to them. In Slovak, you can. You can use both of these words to say the same thing. Then there's the word, to say hello formally, you say dobrý deň, dobrý deň. And that's basically, it literally means good day. And that's like the most formal, the most basic greeting you're going to meet in Slovak. To say good morning, it's dobré ráno, dobré ráno. Good evening, it's dobrý večer, dobrý večer. And when you want to say good night to someone when they're going to sleep, you're going to say dobrú noc, dobrú noc. To say goodbye, the formal way, it's dovidenia, dovidenia. And there's this other greeting, this last one, it's do počutia. And I thought I would include it because it doesn't really exist in English. It's something that we say, but I'm not really sure if anybody else, any other language uses it. Dovidenia literally means until we see each other again. And do počutia means until we hear each other again. So this one you see when you actually use when you see people, so you say goodbye. But this one you use in order to say goodbye when you're calling someone on the phone. It wouldn't make sense to say until we see each other again, right? So instead we invented a new greetings, and it's do počutia. And that's what you use when you want to say goodbye to someone on the phone. Right, so how to say your name? The question is, ako sa voláš? Ako sa voláš? And that's basically how you ask someone what their name is. The answer is volám sa. In my case, volám sa Peter. Volám sa Peter. My name is Peter. Literally, volám sa means I'm calling myself Peter. And ako sa voláš means what are you calling yourself like? All right, let's get into the numbers. Don't get too scared of this. I'm going to, it's actually much easier than it looks. All right, I think I'm just going to read through them and you can follow them on the screen to see what I'm saying. So from 0 to 10, it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, and just like in many other languages, you have the words from 11 to 20 are different, and then from 20 on, there's a pattern. So it's the same in Slovak. So from 11 to 20, it's 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then these ones, I think you call them like tens. So it's like 10, 20, 30, and so on. These are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100, it's 100. So what happens if you want to say, let's say, 35? Well, what you do is that you say literally 35, 35 in Slovak. If you want to say 67, it's 67. So it's just like in English, right? If you want to say 98, 98. 98. And the same goes if you add the hundreds before, so it's 100, as I said, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, and 1000 is tisíc. So if you want to say 577, you say 577. It's very straightforward. And finally, the thousands are like tisíc, 2000, 3000, 4000, 5000, 6000, 7000, 8000, 9000, and 10,000 is 10,000. So yeah, all you have to do is basically memorize these words, and from then on, there's a pattern to follow. But yeah, if you're not used to seeing Slovak or any other Slavic languages, it might be very new for you, but actually, once you get the hang of it, it's not too difficult. So yeah, let's say you want to say 7,765, 7,765. Easy, right? All right, now that we have the numbers out of the way, we can answer the question, how old are you? There are two ways of asking, once again, depending on if it's someone you know or you don't know. So the informal and formal speech. The informal way of asking is koľko máš rokov? Koľko máš rokov? The formal way is koľko máte rokov? Koľko máte rokov? Yeah, it literally means, in English you say, how old are you? In Slovak, you're asking how many years do you have? So it's a different way of expressing the same thing. And the answer is, in my case, I have 24 years, as I would literally say. In English, you say, I'm 24 years old. In Slovak, it's mám 24 rokov. Mám 24 rokov. I have 24 years. So yeah, depending on what your age is, yeah, you can just express your age like this. All right, let's get into the where you come from. There's, once again, different ways of expressing it. You can ask, odkiaľ pochádzaš? Odkiaľ pochádzaš? Or you can say, odkiaľ si? Odkiaľ si? It means where are you from in an informal way. Odkiaľ pochádzaš literally means where are you from? Odkiaľ pochádzaš means where do you come from? And odkiaľ si is where are you from? It's basically the same thing. You can choose either of these questions. The formal way of asking, so if you're asking your boss or you're asking someone older, you're going to ask, odkiaľ pochádzate? Odkiaľ pochádzate? Or odkiaľ ste? Odkiaľ ste? The answer is pochádzam z, and you add the place where you're from. Slovakia, in Slovak it's Slovensko as a country, Slovensko. But you cannot say pochádzam z Slovensko because, as I said in the beginning, Slovak is a very inflected language. So Slovensko is a noun and has to be, the ending has to be changed. So you actually say pochádzam zo Slovenska. Pochádzam zo Slovenska. Or you can say som zo Slovenska. This means I come from Slovakia. This one means I am from Slovakia. You can choose either of the two to answer. And the reason why here is written z, right? So it's like pochádzam z, and here it's zo. It's also something grammatical that I'm not going to get into it, but basically it's easier to say pochádzam zo Slovenska rather than to say pochádzam z Slovenska, and that's why we're saying it like this in this case in particular. All right, here are some more examples of countries where you guys might be from and that you guys might want to express. So Germany, in Slovak, it's Nemecko. Nemecko. And to say I come from Germany is pochádzam z Nemecka. Pochádzam z Nemecka. Or you can say som z Nemecka. Som z Nemecka. Rusko is Russia. And to say I come from Russia is pochádzam z Ruska. Or som z Ruska. As for the US, we either say USA or we actually say America. And when we say America, we don't mean the continent. We actually usually refer to the country of the United States of America in the informal way, of course. So typically what you would answer is odkiaľ pochádzaš, you would answer pochádzam z Ameriky. Or you can say som z Ameriky. But you can also say pochádzam z USA, som z USA. China, in Slovak, it's Čína. And if you want to say I come from China, it's pochádzam z Číny. Som z Číny. Brazília is Brazil. Pochádzam z Brazílie. Som z Brazílie. I come from Brazil. South Africa is Južná Afrika. Južná Afrika. And to say I come from South Africa, you say pochádzam z Južnej Afriky. Or you can say som z Južnej Afriky. Okay, and since we're all polyglots, we love to discuss languages, which languages we speak, and to which level we speak them. So here we go. What languages do you speak? The question in Slovak is akými jazykmi hovoríš? Akými jazykmi hovoríš? Which languages or what languages do you speak? You can answer by expressing what your native language is, and you say that by saying môj rodný jazyk je, môj rodný jazyk je, my native language is, literally. Or you can say hovorím. Hovorím means I speak, and then we use this preposition po, which is usually tied to languages. So you can say, the Slovak language is Slovenčina in Slovak, so you can say môj rodný jazyk je Slovenčina. My native language is Slovak. Môj rodný jazyk je Slovenčina, which is in my case, of course. Or you can say I speak Slovak. Hovorím po slovensky. Hovorím po slovensky. Of course, Slovenčina is a noun. That's why you say like this. Slovensky, it's an adverb actually. So I speak Slovak. So that's why there's different ending and everything. Yeah, I'm not gonna get into it, but yeah, Slovenčina is the name of the language. And this is how you express it. And here's some more examples. English is angličtina. And if you want to say, my native language is English, môj rodný jazyk je angličtina. Môj rodný jazyk je angličtina. I speak English, hovorím po anglicky. Hovorím po anglicky. German is nemčina. Môj rodný jazyk je nemčina. Môj rodný jazyk je nemčina. Hovorím po nemecky. Hovorím po nemecky. Španielčina, Spanish. Môj rodný jazyk je španielčina. Môj rodný jazyk je španielčina. Hovorím po španielsky. Hovorím po španielsky. Ruština, Russian. Môj rodný jazyk je ruština. Môj rodný jazyk je ruština. Hovorím po rusky. And finally, Chinese, čínština. Môj rodný jazyk je čínština. Hovorím po čínsky. All right, you also want to ask, how well do you speak? So you don't want to just say, I speak English. You want to say, I speak it well, I speak it very well, I speak it a bit, I don't speak it. So this is how you express these things. How well do you speak a certain language? Ako dobre hovoríš po slovensky, let's say in Slovak. Ako dobre hovoríš po slovensky? I speak Slovak quite well. I speak Slovak well. Hovorím dobre po slovensky. Hovorím dobre po slovensky. I speak Slovak very well. Hovorím veľmi dobre po slovensky. Hovorím veľmi dobre po slovensky. Or hovorím veľmi dobre po anglicky. I speak English very well. I speak German a bit. Hovorím trochu po nemecky. Hovorím trochu po nemecky. I don't speak Chinese. Yeah, I don't speak Chinese. Nehovorím po čínsky. Nehovorím po čínsky. I don't speak Russian well. Nehovorím dobre po rusky. Nehovorím dobre po rusky. I don't speak French very well. Nehovorím veľmi dobre po francúzsky. Nehovorím veľmi dobre po francúzsky. And I don't speak Thai at all. So nehovorím vôbec po thajsky. Nehovorím vôbec po thajsky. So right now I think you have figured out some things. Dobre means well. Veľmi dobre means very well. Trochu means a bit. Hovorím means I speak. Nehovorím, I don't speak. Vôbec, at all. And here are some more examples. The Italian language is Taliančina. Hovorím dobre po taliansky. I speak Italian well. Hovorím dobre po taliansky. Japončina is Japanese. Hovorím veľmi dobre po japonsky. Hovorím veľmi dobre po japonsky. I speak Japanese very well. Portugalčina. Hovorím trochu po portugalsky. Hovorím trochu po portugalsky. I speak Portuguese a bit. Holandčina. Holandčina, Dutch. Nehovorím po holandsky. Nehovorím po holandsky. Thajčina, Thai, as I said. Nehovorím dobre po thajsky. I don't speak Thai well. Nehovorím dobre po thajsky. Francúzština, French. Nehovorím vôbec po francúzsky. I don't speak French at all. Nehovorím vôbec po francúzsky. All right. What you want to express maybe as well as what you like to do in your free time. So the question is, now we can see the difference between the masculine and the feminine gender. So depending on whom you're asking, if you're asking someone who's a male, you want to ask him, čo rád robíš vo voľnom čase? Čo rád robíš vo voľnom čase? What do you like to do in your free time? If you're asking someone who's a female, you're asking, čo rada robíš vo voľnom čase? All right, so the difference is rád and rada, depending on if it's a male or female. If you're a male and you want to answer, you say rád, and then you add something. Or if you're a female, rada, and so on. To learn languages, it's also something, obviously something we all like to do. Učiť sa jazyky. This is in the infinitive form. So učiť sa, whenever you see this ch at the end, not all the time, but most of the time, it's the verb in the infinitive form. So učiť sa jazyky means to learn languages. And if you want to say, I like to learn languages as a male, you say, rád sa učím jazyky. Rád sa učím jazyky. As a female, you would say, rada sa učím jazyky. And here are some more examples of what you might like to do in your free time. To dance, it's tancovať. Tancovať. And I like to dance is rád tancujem. Rád tancujem. And I say that as a male. A female would say rada tancujem, obviously. To watch movies is pozerať filmy. Rada pozerám filmy. I like to watch movies. Rada pozerám filmy. Počúvať hudbu. Počúvať hudbu, to listen to music. Rád počúvam hudbu. I like to listen to music. Cestovať, something we all like to do, but we cannot do right now. Cestovať, to travel. Rada cestujem. Rád cestujem. Čítať knihy, to read books. Rád čítam knihy. Rada čítam knihy. Športovať, to do some kind of sport in general. Rada športujem. Rád športujem. All right, so these are just some examples that you might want to express in Slovak. Yeah. So let's recap. Let's do a quick recap. Let's see how much you remember. I'm going to speak only in Slovak this time, and you can see the translation right there. So here we go. Ahoj. Volám sa Peter, mám 24 rokov, pochádzam zo Slovenska, môj rodný jazyk je slovenčina, hovorím veľmi dobre po anglicky, po francúzsky a po česky, hovorím dobre po dánsky, po srbsky a po esperantsky, rád sa učím jazyky a rád cestujem. All right, let's continue a bit. So there are some more conversational phrases that you might want to master, or maybe just to get to know. If you want to have a small talk or just a conversation with someone in Slovakia. How are you? The informal way is ako sa máš? And the formal way is ako sa máte? Again, depending on whom you're asking. If you're asking your boss, you want to say ako sa máte? If you're asking your friend, you're just going to say ako sa máš? The answer is mám sa dobre. Or you can just say dobre. Once again, this dobre is what we've seen before. Dobre means well, so I'm doing fine, I'm doing well. Mám sa dobre, ďakujem. That's something you'd say right after. Ďakujem. Ďakujem, of course, means thank you. And you want to ask the other person how they're doing. So you might want to ask a ty, and you, a ty, a vy, and you, depending on whom you're asking. Mám sa tiež dobre. I'm fine too, I'm doing well too, man. Mám sa tiež dobre. Ďakujem. All right, to say yes is áno, no is nie, please, prosím, you're welcome. There are two ways depending on the formality. Nemáš za čo, the informal way. Nemáte za čo, the formal way. And then there's the word prepáč, prepáč, or prepáčte. And these words can mean either sorry, you want to apologize, or you want to say you want to, talk to someone on the street, you want to tell them something, so you say prepáč or prepáčte, excuse me. Yeah. You might want to also say pardon to say excuse me, and that's also a word we use from French. Pardon. If you want to say nice to meet you, rád ťa spoznávam, or rada ťa spoznávam, and that's someone who you meet informally. And then there's a way to say rád vás spoznávam, rada vás spoznávam. In English, it's just nice to meet you. In Slovak, there's a difference between the informal and formal speech, so keep that in mind. Cheers. That's something you obviously have to know when you go to Slovakia. If you want to have a beer with your friends, you say na zdravie. Do you speak English, for example? Hovoríš po anglicky? Hovoríš po slovensky? Hovoríš po česky? That's what you ask your friend. What you ask your boss is hovoríte po anglicky? Hovoríte po slovensky? Yeah, so there's a difference once again. Nerozumiem. I don't understand. Nerozumiem. That's also quite important, I guess. Can you help me? Môžete mi pomôcť? Môžete mi pomôcť? Right, and let's imagine you're in Slovakia and you want to go to, you're in Bratislava, the capital city of Slovakia, where most of the tourists go. You want to ask for directions. You want to go to Bratislava Castle. Let's imagine a little situation like this. And yeah, these are some of the things you might come across in a conversation with a random stranger in the street. So first thing you do, you greet them, you say, Dobrý deň. You don't know who they are, you don't know if they're old or younger. It's a formal way of asking, Dobrý deň. And then you continue, Prepáčte, hľadám Bratislavský hrad. Bratislavský hrad is Bratislava Castle, the castle you see in the bottom right corner. And you want to ask, Prepáčte, hľadám Bratislavský hrad. Excuse me, I'm looking for Bratislava Castle. Or you can say this as a question. Prepáčte, kde je Bratislavský hrad? Excuse me, where is Bratislava Castle? Prepáčte, kde je Bratislavský hrad? Prosím, ukážte mi cestu. Prosím, ukážte mi cestu. Please, show me the way. And hopefully the person who you're talking is not going to be very mean, and he or she might answer to you maybe one of these things. Choďte rovno. Choďte rovno. Go straight on. Odbočte vpravo. Turn right. Odbočte vľavo. Turn left. All right, so it's choďte rovno. Odbočte vpravo. Odbočte vľavo. You might also get tu, which means here. Tam means there. And if you manage to get your directions, or if you don't actually, you have to say thank you and say goodbye, obviously. So it's ďakujem, dovidenia. And let's say you're in a restaurant in Slovakia, something you might want to do when you come to Slovakia after the pandemic. You want to order brinzové haušky, this thing right here. Brinzové haušky. Brinzové haušky is the national dish of Slovakia. It's this dish right here, and it's basically these potato gnocchi with sheep cheese. Basically, all the tourists like it. It's a national dish of Slovakia. You have to try it when you go to Slovakia. So if you want to order some, you say Dobrý deň, say hello, and then depending on if you're male or female, you say Chcel by som si objednať brinzové haušky. Or chcela by som si objednať brinzové haušky. I would like to order brinzové haušky. Or you might want to order a small or big beer. Chcel by som si objednať jedno veľké pivo. Chcela by som si objednať jedno veľké pivo. Or malé pivo for small beer. And then after that you say prosím, to say please. If you want to know how much something costs, it's koľko to stojí. Koľko to stojí. That you can use in a restaurant or wherever you want to ask for the price. And then the answer might be the price itself, or you might get the full sentence. Stojí to 10 eur. Stojí to 25 eur. Once you get what you want, you say ďakujem. And if you want to pay, you typically ask poprosím účet. Poprosím účet. Bill, please, in English. All right, so that's about it. I covered a bit of everything, I guess. At the very end, I would like to present to you this website, which is called slovakia.eu. And this website is actually the one and the only multilingual website out there, which allows you to learn Slovak online. The advantage of this website is that it's completely free of charge. You don't have to pay for anything. You can just sign up and you can use it immediately, and you can learn Slovak this way. This website was actually developed by Education Internet, so our NGO, the ones who organized the Polyglot gathering. And yeah, as I said, it's a full-on website where you can learn Slovak from levels A1 to B2. There's courses available for free. And yeah, I highly recommend you to use it if you're interested in the Slovak language to any level you want. So yeah, so make sure to check out the website slovakia.eu for more info if you're interested. All right, and at the very end, I would like to say ďakujem za pozornosť, or in English, thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you got inspired to learn Slovak, to explore Slovakia a bit, the language and the culture. And yeah, now I would like to answer some of the questions from Q&A you might have. So thank you for watching. Ďakujem za pozornosť. All right, we have a question about Slovak food. Is a vegetarian diet usual to be in Slovakia? It's not, not really. I'm a vegan. I don't eat meat, but I'm quite the exception rather than the general rule in Slovakia. It's not very common, but actually it's not too bad. I lived in Denmark for a number of years before, and I've just moved back to Slovakia last year, and I'm quite surprised about the amount of vegetarian vegan options in the supermarkets, actually. So compared to Denmark, from my personal experience, it's actually a bit better in Slovakia. But yeah, the dish I showed you, the brinzové halušky, that's not vegan, that's not vegetarian. It contains sheep cheese and bacon on top. So it's delicious, but yeah, in Slovakia in general, it's not very vegetarian-friendly country, I would say. We have a question, does Slovak have a lot of dialectal diversity? Yes. Slovakia is a very small country in Central Europe, which only has, as I said, 5.5 million people. But there's quite a few dialects. Depending on where you are, there are 3 main dialect groups. There's the Central Slovakia, Western Slovakia, and Eastern Slovakia. And each one of these groups, each one of these regions has separate sub-dialects. So the Eastern dialects is actually where I come from. I'm from Eastern Slovakia. I was born in a small town in East Slovakia, which is very close to Ukraine. And the dialect we have in my region, in general, in the eastern part of Slovakia, it's very similar to Polish, actually. It's kind of like a mix between the Slovak language, the standard Slovak, and Polish. So actually, I'm personally able to understand Polish quite well because of my dialect. The Western dialects are more similar a bit to Czech, I would say. They're a bit more, the pronunciation is a bit more hard, just like in Czech. But yeah, in general, of course, everybody in Slovakia learns standard Slovak language, which is, yeah, standardized and everybody learns it. But generally, when we're in family or when you're speaking to someone who's older, your grandparents, or in general, someone who's older in your area, they are going to use dialects. And even young people still use dialects, maybe not on a day-to-day basis, but everybody knows the dialect somehow. I personally actually use my dialect quite often because I like it. Personally, I find the standard Slovak much prettier as a sounding language, but I still like to use my dialect, because why not? It's nice. We have a question, how mutually intelligible are Russian, Polish, Ukrainian to Slovak? I don't speak Russian, Polish, or Ukrainian, so I'm not sure if I can really answer. From my experience, I traveled to Poland and Ukraine before, and I could understand the people very well, even though I never studied those languages. Polish, for me, who's from Eastern Slovakia, is significantly easier to understand. Ukrainian, I also didn't have many problems. Russian, whenever I listen to it, I do have to, I don't understand as much as I would for Polish and Ukrainian, but I still understand quite a bit. I used to learn Russian for fun, just for like a month, many years ago, and that actually helped me quite a bit. But yeah, it's not like it's a completely alien language, but from my perspective, as someone who's from Eastern Slovakia and from Slovakia in general, Ukrainian and Polish are a bit more easier to understand. You'll get something from Russian as well. It's not, they're all Slavic languages. All the Slavic languages are very similar, but yeah, for me as a Slovak speaker, Polish is probably the closest out of these 3. Then Ukrainian and then Russian. How is your relationship to the Czech versus to the rest of the Slavic countries? Difficult to answer because it depends obviously on you as a person and the country as a nation, I guess. Personally, I have no problems with any other Slavic countries. I like them all. Whenever I visit a Slavic country, it's like being home, pretty much. There's something about the Slavic countries that connects us all. The Czechs, definitely, are the closest country to Slovakia you can find. Maybe in Europe, definitely, and maybe even somewhere around the whole world. We used to be one country, Czechoslovakia, for almost a century, and yeah, we have very similar culture and languages and stuff. There's no, hatred, nothing really bad about us. We usually love visiting each other's countries, and we love each other's languages and each other's company. So yeah, with the Czech people, Slovak people are very close. It's a very, yeah, it's like forever brothers, I guess. But also with the other Slavic countries, Slovakia doesn't really have a bad relationship with any country. To yeah, yeah, the relationship between the Czechs and Slavic countries and Slovakia, I think it's pretty good. There is no conflicts at all, actually, as far as I can tell. Can a Slovenian understand a Slovak? I cannot answer, but I, as a Slovak person who went to Slovenia, I could understand the Slovenians quite a bit. Uh, Again, it's also, I think, because of the exposure. So, I mean, I can understand the Czechs. I can understand them very well. I can understand Polish quite good, but Slovenians not as well as Czechs and Poles, because it's just I haven't been there so many times and I haven't heard the Slovenian language that often. But when I went there, I was surprised that I could actually pick up some of the things they were saying. There was no need for me and the locals to speak English. I could get around with me speaking Slovak and then speaking Slovenian to me, and it worked out quite well. But yeah, it's not like you can get a fluent conversation about everything with the Slovenian as a Slovak, from my perspective. It would be much easier with a Pole or with a Czech, definitely with a Czech. But yeah, it's not the end of the world. All right, and I think that's about it from the questions. Once again, I would like to say a big thank you for you for coming, for listening to my talk, for the crash course. I hope you learned something, and yeah, feel free to rewatch this whenever you want to get a better grasp on the pronunciation, on the specific words. And yeah, I hope you're going to learn Slovak, use the website slovakia.eu to improve your skills of the Slovak language if you want to, and maybe even visit Slovakia one day. So yeah, I hope I inspired you, and I see you guys around. Enjoy the rest of the Polyglot gathering.